I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling kind of worn out, kind of weary, having a chance to sit down is kind of a nice thing, isn't it? Or do you guys like sit all day long in school right now? Are you like ready to bounce off the walls half the time? Yeah. You know, I was thinking about that these readings that we have this week have me thinking about that phrase that resounds in that first reading from Isaiah. The young will not grow weary, for God will be your strength. I don't know. What makes you weary? What makes you worn out? Anybody want to share something? Kids. Because they're so good. They have so much energy, they wear you out. Kids can wear us out, can't they? What other kinds of things wear you out or make you weary? You deserve this. Parents. Sometimes parents can be kind of demanding, right? They can wear you out. Especially if any of us are unfortunate enough to live in homes where our parents say things to us like, "You're not any good. I'm always so upset with you. Who do you think you are anyway? You're not good enough. You don't deserve to be loved." There are some people who live in homes like that. Those kind of messages can wear us out, can't they? Leave us thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I don't have enough things. I don't have the right clothes. I don't have the name brands. I'm not popular. I'm not smart enough. I'm poor. That can wear us out, can it? What other kind of things wear you out? Anybody? Any other suggestions? Burnout from working hard, right? Yeah. And especially if you're working at a job just constantly and it takes its toll physically and emotionally, yeah. Or in your case, you're saying frustrated because it just won't work out, huh, Jerry? Yeah. Any other ideas? Any other thoughts on things that wear you out, make you weary? Homework. Why? Because it makes your brain tired? Because there's just so much stuff you got to put in there? Yeah, I mean, when we're expected to work hard and to learn all that stuff, that can wear us down, can it? So what do we do when we get worn down? We hear in the story that Jesus went off to a solitary place, an isolated place, to pray, to commune with his Father. You know, I had a lot of those same things down that I heard some of you say. I was thinking, too, about the stuff that's been making me weary lately. I was thinking about, the darkness. I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of seasonal, disorder about this time of year when the darkness. Yeah, the affective disorder, sad. I feel down. I feel a little extra sad, a little less energy these days. Shoveling. How many people are worn out on shoveling? You know, it's part of winter, right? We live in Iowa. We choose to be here, right? But it wears us down a little bit. You know, I was thinking about Marlene Serbacek's husband, Al, died on Monday. You know, there's people grieving right now. Grief can wear us down, make us weary when we are struggling to find meaning in life. Or this trying to avoid this invisible virus. I mean, wearing us down, isn't it? Keeping us separated from each other, constantly wary about things, not feeling comfortable when we go out, always having to look out for the other person and how they're behaving. It's wearing us down. It's making us grumpy sometimes. And the isolation that goes with that. And then, I don't know about you, but the political warfare and the negative social media postings just take it out of me. I just get so discouraged when I see what people say to each other on social media and the way people treat each other and the labeling and the judging and the putting down and the categorizing and the demonizing. I mean, it wears me out. I don't know about you. But, the other thing I was thinking, the thing that wears me down even more than that, and I don't know about you guys in school, how about competition? I am worn out on competition. Competition, especially in our Western culture, everything is rooted in competition. I've had so many people tell me that people won't work hard if there isn't competition, if they're not motivated by somebody else possibly beating them for attention, for success, for affirmation, for vaccinations, for being right. The competition for time, the choices that we have to make all the time, the competition wears me out. When is it ever enough? When is it ever okay just to be me and to do what I'm doing and let it be enough? So what do we do when we get worn out? You know how else it shows up, this competition? I'm bringing it up because that's, I think, what the Israelites were dealing with in this first reading today. When we heard this, when Polly was sharing with us, this whole thing about, God, great God, who created the world and created the universe, who set the shorelines. This is the God that's with us. You know why that was so important to say to the Israelites? Because they were away from their homes. They had been taken into exile, and they were wondering why they were being punished. What did we do wrong that our God has abandoned us? And then to make it worse, the Babylonians, the people around them, the really rich people, the powerful people, they would sing to them, and they would say, "Our God's better than your God. Our God's better than yours. Our God's better because you're in exile. Our God's better than yours." And they would put them down. And it was this big competition between whose gods were more powerful. And when the Israelites were suffering, their God was thought to be weaker. And so we have Isaiah saying to the Israelites, no, remember who our God is. Remember what you've been told about your God from the very beginning. That our God is faithful. And our God loves us. And our God created all of this. And our job is to wait on God. To have faith in God. When we are weary, when we're worn down, wait on God. And God will lift you up. God will give you strength and energy so that when your knees are wobbly and rubbery because you're tired, when your hearts are sad, when you're grieving, when you're wondering if you've been abandoned by your God, if you're loved or not, remember, your God will be your strength. You will be lifted like eagles. You will soar. And you will be restored to right relationship. That's what Isaiah tells his people. That's what we're reminded tonight. You know, our God is a God of healing. God saw how the Israelites were suffering in their exile, how they were being put down, how the competition was wearing them out, and God came to their rescue and brought them back home. And that's what we're reminded of in this gospel. This gospel that, if you remember last week, Pastor Steve told us a little bit about the gospel of Mark. Remember at the beginning, Mark doesn't leave us questioning. He tells us right away what his gospel is going to be about. This is the good news about Jesus the Christ, Son of God. And then he tells 16 chapters of stories. Bam, 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 about how Jesus is the healer. He's the one who shows us the healing of God in this world. And we heard last week how Jesus was in the synagogue with his disciples, and he's preaching. He's preaching about love and how God intends to give all mercy and grace to even the fishermen and even the farmers and even the carpenters, all of those that the people in Jerusalem looked down at. He says, God loves you. You're the blessed ones. And then this man shows up, right, with an unclean spirit. What do you want with us, Jesus? You come to destroy us? Jesus says, be quiet and leave him alone. And the unclean spirit comes thrashing out of the man, throws him to the floor and leaves him. And the people are like, wow, Jesus is awesome. He has power over the spirits, the invisible powers. He can tell them what to do. There's only one other person who gets to do that. That's God. And the people are like, what is going on here? He is acting with the power of God. And so they leave, and it's a Sabbath day. It's a day of rest. And the Pharisees and the leaders are upset because Jesus is doing what they can't do. He teaches with authority, and they start to plot how they're going to get rid of him, how they're going to kill him. So he leaves with his disciples and goes into Capernaum and goes to the house of Simon, who's later going to be Peter, right? Goes to his mother-in-law's house, and she is sick. Now, the thing you have to remember in that day is that women were in the back part of the house. That was where they hung out. Guys hung out by the gate. They chatted and hung out in the main part of the city. But Jesus goes to the house, and when he's told that she is ill, he goes to her. Everybody is shocked. This man goes into a woman's sanctuary. And not only does he do that, but he reaches out and he touches her. Something that we don't get to do very much right now, right? He reaches out and touches her and lifts her up. And when he does that, the power of God surges through him and the fever leaves her. And she's able to serve them. She is healed for service. She's returned to her relationship with the community. There's curing and there's healing. Physically, she's made better, and she's returned to her relationships in her family. And there's amazement, and there's happiness in that home. And then the next part of this, and I love this part of the story, this gets my imagination going. We hear later that day at sundown. So what that means is the Sabbath day had ended at sundown. Now, if you remember, on the Sabbath in Jewish culture, everybody does not work. They rest and they pray and they learn. And they're at the home in Capernaum. And what we hear is that the whole village at the end of sundown comes rushing out to the home where Jesus is. And they gather at the door so that they can hear him and see him and be healed by him. What this reminds me of, I lived in Israel in 1992, and at the end of the Sabbath day, I would go into Jerusalem sometimes. And on Ben Yehuda Street, which is one of the main streets outside the old city, 10,000 people would flood out of their homes when the sun went below the horizon. And it was this huge party on the streets. Everybody would be laughing and dancing, and there was music, and they'd bring out fresh fruit and fresh baked goods, and people would hug and kiss and dance and celebrate life. And that's what they were doing with Jesus this day, at the end of the Sabbath. And he cures some, and he heals some. And those spirits that are with the people, they know who he is. They know who he is, and they want to tell who he is. But Jesus says to them, no, you don't get to speak. What does Jesus know? See, if they say his name, if the demons say his name, they get power over him. If he doesn't allow them to speak, they don't get power over him. It's an interesting thing to think about. Demon voices, those voices that tell us certain things, or maybe give us messages that are destructive for us. Maybe the demons are those voices that say to us, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable, I don't have enough things, I don't know who I am. Maybe those are the voices that we need to stay silent so they can't have power over us because they're not the truth. And that's what Jesus was preaching and saying to these people who had these demon voices. No, see, you are loved, and you are chosen, and you are enough, and you do have enough. And when you share, you have enough. And God has blessed you, and you can bless each other, and you're part of the kingdom. And there was healing, and the whole village was healed. But you know what happens when we get healed? We want to keep the doctor with us, don't we? We want to keep the source of the healing with us. We want to have control over it so we can use it whenever we want. If this pill works, I want to take it all the time. And what Jesus knew is that when he healed them, they were going to want him to stay with them as their village healer. And he says, that's not my mission. My mission is to the whole world, to take healing and love to the whole world. And so he goes and prays to his Father. He reconnects with his Father. And when his disciples find him, he says, we need to move on. I can't stay here for them to possess me. I can't stay here to be a celebrity. Because they thought he was really awesome. They would have given him everything. We kind of like our celebrities, don't we? Jesus wasn't into being celebrities. He wasn't into the acclaim. He was into the mission and the ministry and the service. And so he takes his disciples and they leave and they go from village to village to village, spreading the good news of God's love. 5th and 6th graders, friends, we are invited to be a part of that healing band of people who take the good news of God's love, to claim the power of curing and healing for people. For ourselves, where do you need to be healed today? For our households, what relationships need to be healed today? For our village, what needs to be healed here in Anamosa and the surrounding villages today? Can we be a part of that healing? And what does our prayer sound like? Loving God, cure the physical ailments for your glory and for your will. And loving God, when curing doesn't happen, help us to accept that reality and to draw us deeper into a healing relationship of trust and love with you that we can serve because we know that that brings you great joy. That is pleasing to you. Let that be your prayer.